rumble. Ghost's first day in the Shiver compound had also been stuffy and achy. He'd felt afraid, but hopeful. They'd given him some medicine to keep the pain down. They'd even had a doctor check his cast, but he'd said it was all right. Here in the little fort, it was less hopeful. He was going to leave as soon as he could. When he peeked out of the blanket, nobody was there. He sat up and saw a few lumps on the beds that might be people, but if they were, they must be sound asleep. The care and the night of warm sleep he'd gotten had helped immensely. He felt less pain in his stomach. His wrist was still swollen as fuck, but that wasn't surprising. He'd injured it a lot more in the big fight yesterday. The gunshot grazed wound hadn't been too bad in the first place, like getting 50 scratches in one spot. He'd better get out of here. Within raiding range of Shiver, he'd be tracked down. If he went back to Seattle, the other Shivers would probably beat him within an inch of his life for what he did yesterday. He'd be lucky if he was sold as workforce. Hell, Old Man had threatened to sell him back to his dad on the first day. Old Man wouldn't let Ghost go so easily. He'd been planning on having Ghost and Buddy run things under Ray so he could retire. Old Man said that Ghost was part of why people were so scared of Shiver. So before they could start another raid on the area, Ghost needed to get out. Or just... He touched the knife in his pocket. Any time he could do it. So for now, he closed his eyes to revel in the almost safe feeling in this warm cot. Safety was a strange feeling. What exactly was missing? Why were people gone? "I told you he's not here!" came Trite's yell, quite sudden. Barely audible, so they were still at a distance. Ghost sat up and moved to the door, on high alert. "Albino boy? Freakish eyes?" That was Ray's voice. Ghost's stomach tightened. "We don't have an issue with any of you farmers." That was Old Man. Ghost clapped a hand over his mouth as his stomach lurched and his chest went tight, making it hard to breathe. There was no other way out of this damn thing. "Really, we don't want to bother you," Old Man said. "Then what were those raids yesterday?" "What raids?" Old Man said. "I didn't order any raids. Did you provoke our people?" In the short silence after that, Ghost heard all those confusing things Old Man used to say and do run through his head again. "You'll learn to cope with it." "You better." "I'd rather cut off my right hand than let Guard have you." "I'd rather kill you than let someone else use you." And all those times he would touch Ghost, Ghost would flinch, and Old Man didn't take his hand away. It always happened when Ghost was asking too many questions, like saying, "I can hurt you." Old Man spoke again. "I know you have him." Ghost cringed behind the door, digging his fingernails into his left arm. "Look," Trite said, voice carrying a little softer, "I told you we don't have anyone with albinism here. There was one with the raiders you sent yesterday, but they dragged him back." "Then why don't I have a bloody ghost back in our hideout?" Old Man demanded. "So you admit it," Trite said. He broke off suddenly. Ghost couldn't hear what was happening, but he could guess pretty well. Old Man grabbed some body part, twisted it, threatened to break it, and told Trite to quit fucking around and tell him where Ghost was. There would be enough Shivers there to intimidate all of the Yellow Caps into letting it happen. "Does that make sense to you?" Old Man's voice got louder. They were coming closer. "You're a little transparent, honestly." "You're opening up a can of Yellow Cap whoop-ass," Era said. "You better get off our property." That's some Gaul speaking to someone who just wiped out the guard. From the sound, there were over 50 people out there trampling toward the cabin. "I thought so," Old Man said. He was one of the closer bodies out there. "Ghost, I know you're in there." Ghost shuddered, hyperventilating. Hunched over, he was hot in the face, tears squeezing through his eyes. Those Shivers were going to be pissed at him. "Let's get this over with, Ghost," Old Man said, stepping toward the cabin. "I really want to be able to forgive you. How about you just come out? You'll at least spare these people a beating." He paused. "Ghost, get out here." Ghost choked back a sob. "Please, God, no," he whispered, crying. He got up shakily. No point in getting anyone else hurt. Someone across the room got up. Caraba. Shit. Had he seen Ghost crying? Ghost levered his shoulder against the bar, which was set to fall on its own when the door was closed. Kiraba put his hand gently on the door bar, looking at Ghost with concern. "There's another way out," he whispered. "Old man's gonna..." "He will either way," Kiraba said. "You don't want to go back, right? Focus on that." Behind the structure that acted as a flue for the stove, there was a door of woven sticks that looked very much like the rest of the wall. Kiraba opened it. "There's a tunnel. Go fast." He closed the door, looking at Ghost through the layer of woven sticks. "What?" Ghost said. Kiraba had already turned around. "Open this door," Old Man was saying, "or we will." Kiraba lifted the bar. Ghost gritted his teeth. He looked into the dark net of sticks. At first he couldn't even see anything, but then he saw a spot of light which lit up something of a passage that he couldn't possibly fit into. At least it looked that way, but he could try. But if he left, Old Man would hear him and send people around, not to mention what he would do to Kiraba for letting Ghost go. And Kiraba probably had no idea what kind of shit he was getting himself into. Ghost heard Old Man's breath and several other shivers. He peeked into the room, which now seemed bright compared to his spot. There were 7 of the more highly trained shivers. That included Gray, and Regina. Kiraba was moving toward the door. Old Man stopped him with a hand on his chest. "You're the one," Old Man said. The door bar thudded into place. Ghost ducked back softly, heart pounding. He made himself breathe slow, even though his chest constricted with the effort. He heard Trite yell Kiraba's name, but that sound was cut short. The shivers controlled the situation, inside and out. Old Man patted Kiraba's chest with a soft thump-thump. Ghost grimaced and peeked out as Kiraba stepped back and threw back Old Man's arm from him. Old Man's smile faded slightly. This was his angry expression. Ghost had never been afraid of it like now. "I'm what one?" Kiraba's voice trembled slightly as he continued to step back, glancing at the other shivers. Old Man followed him like a stalking predator. Kiraba had to stop. If he circled, he'd lead Old Man to Ghost's hiding spot. Ghost clenched his jaw anxiously. Old Man would notice him stopping too. "You're the one that got all chummy with my guy," Old Man said. He raised his hand. When Kiraba didn't flinch, he stopped with his hand in the air, raising his eyebrows. "Well, he asked for my gun," Kiraba said. "I wasn't being chummy. I don't know where he..." Old Man slapped him. Kiraba yelped in surprise. "Hey!" he shouted, lifting a hand to smack Old Man back. Old Man blocked Kiraba's retaliating slap. Kiraba tried to punch him. Ghost cringed. Holding up a hand to stop Ray and the others, Old Man batted away every one of Kiraba's punches, till Kiraba was out of breath. Old Man barely had to move.